For the record, Mr. Secretary, then I assume you no longer believe that the flu vaccine is destroying children's brains, that there's zero evidence that the flu vaccine prevents any hospitalizations or any deaths, because today you're here agreeing that the vast majority of kids that died from the flu were people without vaccines, and you're saying that you're now approving vaccines.
We're making sure that we follow the science, Senator.
Well,
Before becoming Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. spent years making specific claims about vaccines. He said flu vaccines destroy children's brains. He said there is zero evidence they prevent hospitalizations or deaths. He said the MMR vaccine causes autism. He said measles is not as dangerous as health officials claim. Last year, the United States recorded the worst flu season for child deaths in modern history. 90% of the children who died were unvaccinated. Senator Michael Bennet of Colorado came to this hearing with those two facts. Here is what happened when he read Kennedy's own words back to him.
Chairman, thank you, Mr. Kennedy, for being here again. For decades, parents in this country were able to send their kids to school without worrying about whether they could come home with a dangerous case of the flu or a dangerous case of the measles, as my colleague from South Carolina is saying. Last year, we saw the largest number of children die from the flu in modern history. Are you familiar with that, Mr. Secretary?
Yes, I am.
And have you told President Trump about that? The last year was the largest childhood death of flu in America, in modern America.
Well, that's one of the reasons that FDA just approved 2 new vaccines for influenza A and influenza B.
Because you would agree that last year was the worst year on record in terms of flu deaths in modern history, not in the old days. Not
right.
In those.
In the old days, we were having hundreds of thousands.
You're right. Of course. Do you agree that 89% of the children who died from flu were unvaccinated?
I don't know the exact number.
That is the exact number, Mr. Kennedy, and it was, I think of interest to a lot of people in America that you took down the communications from HHS on the flu, the importance of getting a vaccine when you first became the secretary. And I just wondered whether you regret having done that. You're now saying that you're approving vaccines for the flu.
I approve lots of vaccines. I've spent $1 billion, authorized $1 billion, developing new vaccines, including a universal flu vaccine.
So are you
the flu I think last year the flu vaccine had something like a 20% efficacy. So having these single antigen vaccines is not serving the public interest. The Cochrane collaboration said they simply don't work.
For the record, Mr. Secretary, then I assume you no longer believe that the flu vaccine is destroying children's brains, that there's zero evidence that the flu vaccine prevents any hospitalizations or any deaths, because today you're here agreeing that the vast majority of kids that died from the flu were people without vaccines, and you're saying that you're now approving vaccines.
We're making sure that we follow the science, Senator.
Well, I hope you'll follow the science, because that's what put us in the position 30 years ago of essentially having measles declared at an end in the United States of America.
Well, many nations have lost their elimination status, including Canada, the UK, a lot of Europe this year because of the outbreak, and the outbreak has nothing to do.
I mean, I would hope that I know you said the outbreak has nothing to do with you. That was your answer to Ron Wyden. You're the chair, you're the head of the agency. You're the head of the
agency has no jurisdiction over Canada, Mexico, the UK, Austria.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that. I think everybody on this dais believes that the United States of America ought to be leading in these matters. That's why we're so discouraged by your cuts to NIH, because that's going to make it harder for us to lead. That's why we are so discouraged by your cuts to Medicaid that are making it impossible to invest in rural America. That's why
there are no cuts to Medicaid, Senator, as you know. There's no cuts to Medicaid. There's the congressional budget.
That is Mr. Kennedy.
Look at the Congressional Budget Office this week. They say we are increasing Medicaid spending by 47% over 10 years. That's not a cut, except in Washington.
Okay, it is a cut when it comes to the rural hospitals all over America that are having to close because of the Medicaid cuts, and those are real dollars.
They were closing
Mr. Kennedy,
before I came in here. Now they're not closing.
Let me just ask you, do you realize that last year the United States had the highest number of measles cases in 30 years? That the last time we had more than that was before
the whole world did.
Measles.
The whole world did.
Yeah, we were the leader, Mr. Kennedy.
We still are. We have a 92% vaccination rate. We have one of the highest vaccination rates for measles on earth.
So are you taking the position, let me ask you, are you taking the position as your CDC director has taken that the measles vaccine is vital to keeping American children healthy in this country? Are you taking that position today? That has not been your position.
That's my position. We promote the measles vaccine.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That will be, I hope you will go out to America and promote this. The idea that you have nothing to do with this.
The measles vaccine prevents measles in 97% of the people who take it. I've always said that. That's what the science says.
I would ask you to please underscore it, because there's a reason that we are having these outbreaks, Mr. Chairman, and that is the misinformation that's been propagated. If you would have a change of view, that's excellent. Let's get it out there to the Americans.
Did the president approve your decision to fire all 17 members of the CDC's vaccine committee in June of 2025?
You mean, did I talk to him directly? We talked to the White House DPC.
So, again, my question is about the decision process in this administration about firing 17 members of the CDC's vaccine committee that is established under law. Did the president approve that decision to fire the CDC's vaccine committee members in June of 2025?
Well, yes, he did.
Yes, he did. Okay, so now you also made changes to the vaccine committee charter just 2 weeks ago. It appears to get around the federal court decision that said you had improperly disbanded the vaccine committee. So did President Trump authorize you to do that?
DPC did, which is the Domestic Policy Council, which is in the White House.
So the Domestic Policy Council did, but have you discussed with the president?
I don't know if it was elevated to the presidential level, but it was.
So you're making extraordinary changes to the vaccine charter so that you will be able to bring on quacks and conspiracy theorists to guide vaccine policy in this country, and you haven't discussed it with the president. Look, I am asking these questions because it appears to me that you are focused on promoting
every 2 years.
This is my time, sir. I'm asking these questions because it appears to me that you're focused on promoting yourself over everyone else, promoting your own theories over actual scientific inquiry, promoting your own unqualified lackeys over doctors and scientists, and promoting images where you think you look cool rather than messages that will help people live healthier lives. It is always about you and building a platform for yourself, which means it's never about the American people or their public health and safety.
Is it a question?
Now, let me go on to my next question. I agree with you that all Americans, you answered questions, and I drew those conclusions from your answers, and that's why I have this time on the dais and you do not. Now, I agree with you that all Americans should have access to healthy food. However, President Trump has made it far harder for families to afford their groceries. As I am looking at my time, so I'm going to hold this question for the next hearing where I will see you this afternoon. Thank you.
Kennedy told Bennet last year was the worst flu season for child deaths in modern history. He agreed that 89% of the children who died were unvaccinated. Then he said flu vaccines only have 20% efficacy, and the Cochrane collaboration says they simply don't work. Bennet asked him if he still believed his own past statements that flu vaccines destroy children's brains, that there is zero evidence they prevent hospitalizations or deaths. Kennedy said he follows the science. He also said he had always promoted the measles vaccine and that the measles outbreak had nothing to do with him. He is the Secretary of Health and Human Services. He removed flu vaccine guidance from the HHS website his first week in office. He fired all 17 members of the CDC Vaccine Advisory Committee. A court said he did it illegally. He changed the charter to get around the court. He said he doesn't know if the president was told. Subscribe and turn on notifications. The record, not just the position. We follow the science. That was the answer.